What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 59 of To the Show We Go. We have Ed Hand, as always, and myself, Andrew Parker. It is the Corey Rosier episode. And if you're not familiar with Corey Rosier yet, he actually came over to the Red Sox system via trade. Actually, it seems like it was forever ago, but it's only been a couple years now, and we're into 2024. Corey actually just finished out the 2023 season in Worcester. He also was a Red Sox representative in the Arizona Fall League, which I am going to ask you about, or Ed will ask you about here in a little bit. But Corey, you had a short off season just due to your experience in Arizona, and I'm sure that the time has gone by rather quickly. So I wanted to start us off. What have you been up to in your very brief off season?
Yeah, kind of touching on what you said, quick turnaround this offseason with playing into, I think we finished November 13th. So just get into, I think, experience and play that long kind of simulates more of a big league season. Obviously, if you make a playoff run and play that long, now I'm kind of figuring out what it's like to, have that shorter amount of time, but still be ready coming into the next spring training. So I've been just, training with my hitting coach here and the guy that I work out with, they put together a really good program. So I feel like I'm in a good spot leading up to spring training.
Yeah, so speaking of spring training, you're a non-roster invite this year. Congratulations.
I
How
appreciate it.
does it feel to be starting with the big league club this year?
It's awesome, man. I mean, just to be recognized as, the way I see it is they see me as a guy who could, come up at some point this year and, be an impact guy. So it goes a long way and just knowing that they believe in me. And I think it's going to be a really good spring.
So you had a brief taste at AAA towards the end of the season. Well, I know you got called up earlier in the season just for like a very brief stint. I know there was a ton of injuries and a lot of other roster moves going on in Worcester, but you ended up coming back up. You finished out the year with the Woo Sox. What was you? So looking back at your 2023, what was it like? I guess getting a taste at AAA level, and I guess just the experience that came with it.
It was cool. I mean, there's a lot of older guys walking around that clubhouse, so just, sitting around picking guys' brains and picking up on different knowledge. I'm a guy that, if there's anything to be taken from something, I'm gonna try and take that and add it to the, bag of tricks. So
Yeah, so I remember you coming in mid-season 2022, and you started with Greenville, and at least statistically, it didn't go that great. But then you get called up to Portland to start the season in 2023, and you tore it up there. You had a great season, got that promotion to AAA, like Parker was talking about. I was just wondering what you took away from that second half of 2022 and how you utilized it during the off season to up your game.
yeah, that was probably, I'd say, one of the worst stints of baseball I played, but I definitely learned and grew from it. Obviously in the big leagues, guys struggle and you don't want your first time struggling to be in the big leagues. And I don't know if there's a pinpoint thing that I could say what it was, but I know that getting to go through spring training the next year with the Sox made me feel really comfortable going into the 2023 season. And I think it showed.
Yeah, I remember when I first talked to you, it was right after the trade happened, and you were kind of coming into the organization, and it was like you and Max Ferguson, and that was it. You didn't really know anybody else that was coming over.
Right.
How would you say the Red Sox organization differs from the Padres organization at this point? And I guess you were with Seattle before that, so what stands out about the Red Sox organization to you now that you've been in it for a couple of years?
Yeah. I think that, the Red Sox treated me very well. Everywhere you look in the org, there's just good people. Even just walking away from the game, there's a lot of good people around and guys that genuinely care about their well-being. Like I couldn't tell you how many times, after games or different events where guys are just sitting around talking, like just sitting around having conversation, not even talking about baseball. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, there's something that I still remember about that first conversation that we had also. And it's a line that it's something that you said that you probably weren't even thinking about it, but it stuck with me. And it's iron sharpens iron. And
100%.
yeah, I was just wondering who are some of the guys that have like sharpened the iron that is you in this metaphor? Who's some of the iron that you've worked with that you've been able to improve with from your teammates, from the organization?
Yeah. I'd say a big one would be sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now.
Asking the
um
tough questions, Ed.
yeah, this guy's on the other end of the ball, but Christopher Troy, we think very
W-
like-minded, and
We know
we
CT.
yeah, he's a good guy. And got to spend time with him in the fall league too. And like I said, we think very similar. So, just talking about the mental side of the game too, which I think we're both very advanced on that end, which a lot of people don't have. And I think that gives you an edge.
So I did want to talk about the fall league, and you. So I want to know, just brief overhaul. We've actually had CT on. We had Zach Penrod on, a few of the guys that were in that group. But what was it like? I guess just playing with all that talent in the lineup, and especially from the Red Sox organization as well.
Yeah, it's obviously, really cool to be recognized in that. And you get to interact with guys from other teams that you normally wouldn't really get to interact with. So I think that was the coolest part to me, is just getting to see guys in different uniforms and kind of how they go about things. And, everybody has different things in this game. There isn't a one size fits all, but I feel like there's always little nuggets to be taken. Even if, let's say, a guy does something and you don't necessarily do that, I still think there's something to be learned from that.
So what was the fall star game like? Because I feel like that I know obviously the fall league there's a ton of talent, but obviously to make it to the fall star game, you gotta it's the best of the best there. So what was it like playing in that game?
Oh man, it was awesome. I mean, they did a little red carpet event where everybody kind of dressed up and did like a interview and photo shoot. So it was really cool to experience that. And like you're saying, I mean, knowing that you're selected out of already an elite group to be even more, recognized is really cool, and it's a cool feeling for sure.
So speaking of accolades, you were the Red Sox minor league base stealer of the month, not once, not twice, but three times in a row to start the season. You stole 49 bases. You were a fast guy. Speed's a part of your game, but have you found that the bigger bases have made a difference with the base stealing for you?
I don't know if I'd say I necessarily noticed that it made a difference. I mean, like you're saying, I was already a speed guy before, but there could be times where now I, slip a hand in and maybe get a few extra bags that way, where before having to go that little extra distance. Cause I mean, it's a game of inches. So,
I have to ask something too in regards to the speed. So I have a funny story actually before I ask you the question, but you were getting called up this year. I think it was before. I think it was probably right around like the MLB trade deadline era. I think you got called up before the first half ended in minor league ball, and I remember sitting in Chad Tracy's office, and you were coming up. So we always ask him about like, hey, what do you think about this guy that's coming up? What do you think about him? So obviously you got called up, and we're like, what do you think about Corey Rosier? Do you think he has like a constant text chain with David Hamilton about like, hey, like this is what I'm doing, like stealing bases, like how are you, like just feeding off each other? But did you get to pick his brain at all? Just like because you guys have like you guys are pretty both known for your speed, so is that did anything like that ever take place?
we talked a few times. I think there was one time when I was in Worcester that we went out and touched the bases just because I think we got rained out or something. So just to get the legs moving, and we talked about a few things, and yeah.
And
Now, have
I
you two
want
ever
you
had a foot race like Superman and the Flash? Like see which
No, we
one's
haven't.
faster?
We haven't yet, but I think we got to make it happen at some point. Maybe this spring.
I do want you to know that we did ask Chad Tracy because early in the season he did tell us he was like, hey, like David Hamilton always has, the go sign. I'm never going to tell him not to steal. And we're like, does that rule apply to Corey Rozier when he's coming up? And he's like, yes, it does. So I know that I know he was telling, I forgot who was on first base last year. It wasn't Wheeler. I think Wheeler was in the pen, but I know that they did not put the brake lights up to you. So do you embrace that a little bit, like getting promoted and being like, okay, like they have their trust in me, like in a part of my game that I excel at?
I definitely do. Knowing that they trust me to give me that green light is another big thing too. And obviously, there's certain situations that come up where they might say, "Hey, we need guys to swing it or need guys on base." But knowing that they believe in my speed and know that it can impact the game, I think is a really big deal. So
Yeah. Now, when do you report to the fort?
I believe the official report date is either the 18th or the 19th, but I'm gonna head down a little early just to, get in a routine and not have my first day be my actual first day.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Is there what are you most looking forward to with it? What just this whole season, what are you the most excited about?
I think it's, the opportunity to be right on the verge of the big leagues, man. I mean, obviously that's all of our goals, and knowing that I'm right on the cusp of it is what excites me. And I'm going to bring the energy. I'm a hustle guy. I hit a ground ball, I'm going to run it out. So bringing that energy, I think people can feed off of it.
Yeah. Anybody on the big league roster that you're excited to sharpen from a little bit?
Mm, Rafael Devers, he lifts at the same place I do here in Tampa. So I think getting to know him a little more and having a familiar face would be cool too.
So I was reading up on something. Our good friend Chris Smith over at Mass Live wrote. I think he talked with you right after the last off season, but he wrote about you training on an empty stomach, aka like intermittent fasting. Was that something you did this off season as well?
It is. I think that, well, first off, the way that we train, if you're eating a big meal, it's probably not going to go too well for you. So,
You're probably going to see it
but
again.
yeah. And I also was doing, I don't know if we talked about this, but I was doing cold showers too.
Okay. So not the cold plunge, but just like an actual just cold shower.
Yes, cold
Okay.
shower. And I try to do the cold plunge too, but cold showers.
So what do you think? Obviously, I think you said it was new. It was something new you were trying in the last off season. So now it's been like a full year since that. Like, have you noticed anything different about yourself or just the way you have been training, like the way you're responding to your training? Like, is there anything that you can tell that's kind of either clicked or like went a different direction than before you were doing it?
My body feels really good. Um, Obviously after the training, I'm trying to get as much protein in and eat as good as possible just to, build that strength back up after breaking the body down. And I'd say overall my body feels better from it.
Now, do you cook for yourself, or are you getting like do you have like a chef that does it? Like how do you do that?
I cook for myself.
What do you like to cook?
In the morning, I'm a big eggs and bagel guy. Love bagels. Obviously being in the Northeast, that's another good thing.
Definitely a
But
perk.
for sure. And then, in afternoons for lunch and dinner, I try to get some type of carbs, so like a rice or sometimes noodles, pasta, and then chicken, steak, just different proteins, kind of cycle through them all. Pork sometimes. So,
Yeah, just keep it balanced and everything.
yeah.
That actually, because you mentioned being in the Northeast, you were up in Portland this year. You were in Worcester after that. What was that your first time up in Portland?
It was. Yep. That was my first time that far north, actually.
What was your takeaway about both cities you were in? Worcester. I know Worcester wasn't as long. You were there for I think it was 12 games, but you're obviously going to be there a bit more this year. And what'd you think of Portland? What'd you like about it? What if there was some stuff you didn't like? Like what was your takeaway?
Well, from both, I'd say that, when you talk about New England sports and being a member of the Red Sox organization, there's always that support that comes with it. And, just talking to different fans at the, fan events and, hearing kids cheer your name and um, even down to, people making little posts saying how you made some kid's day. I mean, that stuff goes a long way and it's good to know that you're influencing the youth that are coming up behind you. So it's really cool.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? The last game of the season with the shirt off your back part, and not even only that, just the attention that now with the Kansas City Royals, but Ryan Fitzgerald was getting there that last day.
It's awesome, man. I mean, he literally got a key to the city. So I don't know how often you're seeing that with a minor league player in the city. So to see something like that is really cool.
I wanted to ask you too. I got this sent to me whenever we kind of threw it out there that you would be joining us today, and I had some people send me some things that they possibly wanted me to ask you about. And one of the things was, well, you were just talking about making a fan's day. Do you remember when you robbed a home run in AA this past year up in Portland?
I do. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So what can you take me through your mind like when doing something like that? Because it was an incredible play. And like you said, it obviously was enough for somebody to send that to me and be like, please ask him about this because I saw this and it was incredible.
I honestly, I don't even think there's really a thought. It's kind of just, be an athlete and, let your instincts take over. I mean, we obviously don't go out and really practice robbing home runs. So, but I think it's just being an athlete and trusting your athletic ability to make a
And
play on the ball.
I've always wanted to know this too about guys that do, because you obviously see like guys like Mike Trout do it like daily, it seems like, or a guy like Aaron Judge just like seems like he just reaches over the wall and takes away home runs all the time. But was it one of those things after you did it where you were kind of just like, okay, I have no idea if this went in my glove, first of all. Second of all, like that, like I can't believe I just did that type of thing.
Well, so I don't know if you've seen the video. I think I actually looked into my glove to make sure
You
I
did.
caught it. Yeah. And then once I saw I had it, we were right next to our bullpen. So their reaction, it was really cool to hear them, cheer and get excited about it. And I was excited about it, obviously, too. So it's cool thing.
Ed, I'm gonna save my random one-offs that I still have not named. I said I was gonna name after the last episode, but I still have not done that. But I have a few more baseball things, if whatever you have.
I've got a fan random one for that, so just let me ask that when we get to it. But I do have one more baseball question for you. And that's just when you made the jump from AA to AAA. You obviously there was a little bit of a shorter stint beforehand, but was there any big difference that you noticed about the level of play between AA and AAA?
I'd say there's a lot of guys that are more mature. Double A, there's still a lot of young talent, but when you get up to Triple A, there's a lot of guys who have big league time and have experienced that. So I'd say as facing pitchers in between Double A and Triple A, guys are more around the zone and are kind of more refined with how they're going to attack hitters, I would say.
So I had a question here, and it actually again comes from somebody that had I guess some interesting questions. They brought up something pretty relatable, I guess, but it's kind of a tough one, so bear with me. But what do you see as your best path to a successful MLB career?
Ooh, that is a good question.
It's a good one, actually. I kind of like it.
I would say my best path to having a successful big league career would be trusting my game and playing my game. I do have power to hit home runs, but I feel like if I were to try to chase home runs, it would make me regress as a hitter just because I know my value comes in getting on base, stealing bases, bringing that energy, like I'm saying. And it changes the course of a game knowing that, every time I'm on base, it's in the back of a pitcher's mind, dang, this guy might steal. And especially, kind of in the lower levels, they say we technically aren't trying to win, but in the big leagues, everybody's trying to win. So knowing that I could throw off a pitcher's game, at that level, I think would be, a big deal.
And now Ed brought up the bigger bases earlier, and I have to ask you about obviously you got to experience the ABS and things like that. Do you think it benefited or hurt your at bats when you were at the plate?
There's a couple instances I could think of with the ABS where, maybe a catcher got crossed up and caught it really bad, or certain pitches where it was like, dang, I don't know if that was a strike. I mean, I know I have a video where it was like, wow, that was that was bad. And I know some guys, talking to different guys in other Triple A's were saying that some days it would be like good, and then other days it would kind of be a little weird. So
I feel like it wasn't the most consistent. I feel like overhearing guys like Ryan Fitzgerald and Nick Sogard, guys that like knew the strike zone like really well. They were very adamant about like, hey, especially whenever like 3 days of the week is you can just tap your head and it's like it's a challenge, and the other three it's like, well, no, that's just how it's going to be called today. So it is interesting to hear, especially from a guy like yourself that, was down in AA for a bit this year, then obviously came up and you got to see like both ways this year. So,
Right. I think they
Ed,
were also sorry. I think they
no, no,
were
no, go ahead.
also changing what part of the zone they would use. So sometimes they would use the front of the strike zone, sometimes the back, and then I think sometimes they would use a 3D zone so if it even just clipped it, it would be a strike. And we didn't know when it was changing, but I've heard that they were actually experimenting with different things with the ABS. So
So they don't tell you how that what it's going to be though going into it. You're kind of flying blind into what's gonna. That's got to be frustrating.
I mean it is, and like you're saying, there's guys I take myself as a guy who knows the strike zone pretty well. And there's, like I'm saying, different times where it's like, I don't know about that one. But I think the next adjustment for it, if they do continue with it, would be to make a certain percentage of the ball have to be in. Because there would be times where it was literally like
It was
hairline.
bad. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a strike on as the way it is now. So I think that would be the next adjustment if they're going to continue to use it.
Yeah, they were also experimenting with some stuff towards the end of the year where they would take your last like 10, 20 strike zone, like because some guys would try to like get shorter or get taller, whatever it was, to make the zone differently. It's like I don't know, it's crazy. It definitely needs a lot more adjusting, but you're gonna get a full glimpse of that in 2024. You're hanging around in Worcester for a bit, but Ed, I have my random questions I still have not named, but do you have anything before I jump into those?
Yeah, I've got a question here from another podcast, Small States, Big Takes. They just want to know, and this is a binary question, but and you can extrapolate on it or not, whatever. It's just Biggie or Tupac.
See, I almost said one, but now I got to think about that. Ooh. I like Biggie.
Yeah, you're an East Coast guy, so that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I got to
me.
go with Biggie.
You were like ready to pounce on that one. You're like, hold on.
Yeah, I was
collect
like,
my thoughts here.
Who am I going to
Okay.
upset least?
Yeah, like am I about to? Yeah, all right, that's fair. All right, so I have some one-offs here, and all right, first one up here. I need to know a guilty pleasure of Corey Rosier.
Ooh, anything Oreo. That's I would say my guilty pleasure is anything Oreo flavored. I am a sucker for.
Okay, this also the first answer that you just gave me could factor into this answer, but do you have any crazy pregame routines?
Mm. I wouldn't say it's crazy, but I like to ground, before I kind of start the
Ask
day.
about that.
Yeah, I like to walk around barefoot and, feel the energy of the ground and just walk around on grass.
So I want to follow up to that. And when did that start for you, or like who gave you that like where did you get that motivation from to do that?
So I believe I first came across it actually on social media of people just talking about the benefits of getting outside and touching grass with your feet. And so I was like, you know what, I'll try it. And then it actually led to me start training barefoot. And I feel like it really strengthened even my feet muscles, but even down into my calves. I feel like it really strengthened it. And then just feeling the nutrients of the ground was really cool too.
I saw you do that. I think one of the first days you were up in Worcester and you were walking, like the pitchers were out throwing, they were like warming up. And I remember you were walking like all the way around the warning track, and somebody was just like, what is he doing? Like what is he doing out there? And I remember you came back and they were asking you and they were like, what is that? And you were like explaining it. And I'm just like, well, I feel like, we saw Tristan Casas doing it too, like up at Fenway as well. So like, I know it's like kind of a newer thing, but it's also at the same time, like I feel like a lot of people are doing it, and it, like you said, if it works for you, it works for you. So,
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to ask the toughest question here. And, I have faith in you because of where you went to school. You went to school in Carolina, so I know that you possibly have a better answer for this. So I think you're hungry and you want some lunch, right? You're not intermittent fasting today, so you're gonna get a meal. It's got to be a fast food meal. Has to be a fast food fried chicken place that has strips or sandwich, has to have a drive-through.
Okay, has to have a drive-through.
Every single option is available. Like every single option that you've ever had. Where are you going?
I think I gotta go with Old Reliable, man. Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Old Reliable.
Corey, I had higher hopes for you, but
It'll never let you down.
He's not from Florida. He doesn't have to say that.
fair. I just thought with you being in Carolina, what places were available for you in Carolina? I'm curious. Like when you were in college.
Chicken places?
Yeah.
We had Zaxby's.
That's his favorite.
Is that what you were looking for?
Well, I was looking for, man. First one.
I do like Zaxby's. I just think sometimes Chick-fil-A could be a little more consistent. Is the only thing. You always know what you're going to get with Chick-fil-A. Sometimes with Zaxby's, sometimes they put a little too much sauce but when you get Zaxby's on a good day, Zaxby's is very good.
So it's a higher floor is what you're saying. That,
right, exactly.
Yeah, it has a higher floor than Zaxby's, which I haven't had Zaxby's, so I actually can't make an assessment there.
Can I ask though, because we've asked everybody that's come on the show so far this offseason, but can we just ask, like, when you go to Chick-fil-A or any chicken place, they always have their sauce, the Chick-fil-A sauce, Zach's sauce, Cane's sauce, whatever it is. Do you order it with Chick-fil-A sauce, or are you a guy that goes like Polynesian or like barbecue? Like where do you lie on that?
Chick-fil-A sauce is probably my favorite. Recently, I've been doing buffalo more though, just because it has less calories.
Okay, that's a good reason. I was going to ask because I'm coming into this. We had a guy from the White Sox system come on this offseason, and he every single time he just went to Chick-fil-A, like yesterday, I think he sends me a picture of Polynesian sauce because I think it's crazy that people would go to a restaurant and not get their sauce that they're known for.
Polynesian sauce is so good, though. Like I have a big thing of that in my refrigerator right now.
That stuff is good, I will say.
All right. Well, I've never tried it. Every time you go to Chick-fil-A, just always get the Chick-fil-A sauce or Zach's sauce, Cane's sauce. I just feel like that's like the go-to thing. But all right, I have a couple more baseball-related questions, and Ed can throw one in too before we let you go. But all right, so we're on to 2024. You have to report next month, and actually it's February 1st tomorrow. That's absolutely crazy. But you will officially be playing baseball games in a month from now. So as we enter 2024 season, do you have any goals? Do you have any, like, not statistical goals, but do you have like things that you have in place that you want to speak into existence?
Yeah, I think it's showing up every day, the best version of myself. With the long season, I feel like sometimes it's easy to fall in the trap of kind of going through the motions. So I'm challenging myself every day to show up and be present and don't take any days for granted just because, never know how long you're going to get to play this game. So I'm going to try to take every day in stride and give it everything I got.
Is there anything that you do to keep yourself motivated on that? Is there anything that you just to keep your focus? Any rituals, any routines?
I'm a big believer in journaling, writing down your thoughts and, just being able to process everything and seeing it on paper, I think plays a big role in that.
Do you have any creative outlets like that's a little more like I don't know if like I guess my question is like we've seen with Christopher Troy that he has a lot of this. He makes a lot of these appearances. He does a lot of writing. Do you have anything like that that's beyond just journaling, or is it kind of just you and your thoughts with that?
Kind of just me and my thoughts. I mean, anything I'm feeling or thinking, I'll just write it down. And even sometimes now I've been going back and kind of seeing what I was thinking at certain times. And yeah, just like I said, getting the thoughts down on paper, I think plays a pivotal role.
You're gonna. Ed, were you following up with that?
I have one more question, and it sort of relates, not as much, but I was just wondering if you follow any of the I guess coverage of the major league team or coverage of the minor league system, like Baseball America, that sort of thing.
I see it here and there. I mean, I'm not like faithfully looking at those things, but sometimes obviously getting on social media, the algorithm knows I'm around New England sports, so I'll
Yeah.
see it pop up every now and again. But
Have you ever read something about yourself and were just very confused as to how they were representing you?
so there was, I don't know who made the article or who exactly it was, but I read a guy say that I was a chunky left-handed hitter. So that one made me laugh. That one made me laugh.
That's did they like what how? That's sorry, I've never seen that, but that actually I'm at a loss of words for that.
I was too, believe me.
That's good. They've obviously never seen you before. I don't know, man. That's crazy. All right, I got 2 questions left for you, and we can let you go. But um, for somebody, so you're gonna have a lot more eyes on you this spring training, obviously with being an NRI, getting into some games early on. For a fan that hasn't gotten to see you play or doesn't really know much about you, how would you describe what kind of player you are to them? Like, what would they see when they watch Corey Rosier play?
I'd say I'm a relentless player. I like to use my legs and create pressure on the other team, and very passionate. I kind of play with that chip on my shoulder, which a lot of guys don't have that competitive fire nowadays. I think guys are just all right, it is what it is. But when you get guys that have that competitive fire, I think it gives an edge, and it's a lot of people have told me it's fun to watch me play the game. So.
And then I had one of my last questions here. You spent time in all 3 outfield positions in your career. So going forward, I guess like I know you're allowed to answer this any way you want. Obviously, if you say all of them, but where are you? I guess most comfortable in playing in the outfield, or like where do you see yourself? I guess once you do get to Worcester this year.
For sure. I'd say my favorite one to play is center field. I have a knack for, kind of reading how our pitchers are pitching guys and kind of reading guys' swings to be able to move the guys on my sides. So when I get to play center, I usually like to utilize that. This was actually my first season playing right field as much as I did, though. And I enjoyed right field a lot more than I thought I would, just because, different angle from that side of the field. I thought it would be different, but going out in BP and reading the ball off the bat, I think, helped me a lot this year, and, but I'd say center is my favorite.
Is the first step different when you're in right versus center versus left, just from the angle that you're seeing it at? Like the way that you read where the ball is gonna go?
Yeah, I would say a little bit, in center, sometimes when a ball's hit really hard right at you, it's hard to tell if you need to go back or forward, so they teach us kinda, hold our ground until you know. Right in right field, when you have a right-handed hitter, a ball to your left might slice away from you a little more, and knowing different things like that about the game.
All right, so I lied to you, and I just thought of something else. I'm sorry, but it's just on the fly here. But we had a pitcher come on earlier in the offseason, Rio Gomez. He was in the system for a while, and he pointed out that watching Ceddanne Rafaela play center field is one of the just prettiest things he's ever seen on a baseball field. The way he can read a ball, his first step's always perfect, like everything. Like I don't know how much you got to play alongside him because I wasn't sure how long you guys like interlapped in Portland and then Worcester. But have you ever taken anything away from him on how he like it just plays a center field?
Yeah, so we got to spend a good amount of time in Portland together before he went on up to Worcester, and going out and taking fly balls, just kind of picking his brain about certain things was good. I think it, helped me add a few other things to myself as far as the prep step and going into when the pitcher's delivering the ball, kind of what he does and what I was doing. So I think I added that to my bag of tricks. And but he does some things on the field where it's like, wow. There's one specific play that I remember. We were in Binghamton playing the Rumble Ponies, which is the Mets organization, and we were ninth inning, 2 outs, I believe, and runner on second, and guy hits a ball up the middle. He comes up, and I'm telling you, he threw this ball no higher than probably 4 or 5 feet off the ground, one hop to the plate, and I literally remember specifically saying, "Oh my god," when he threw it.
So it's not just the
But
glove, it's the arm too.
yeah, he does some things where it's just like, wow. It's fun to watch him play the game.
Yeah, I remember Rio saying specifically, he said there are multiple gold gloves his way if he can make it up there one day. So it is interesting to hear from a guy that played out in the outfield and right next to him, you can actually see it from that angle, be like, holy cow.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm for real this time. My final question. I keep thinking of these things as we're going, but there's been a lot of turnover and a lot of changes in the Red Sox organization. Did you have like any thoughts on like, any of the new faces that are coming in? And I know that a lot of them have been more pitching related, but what have been your thoughts, I guess, on, like having a new guy in charge and just some new coaches throughout and new everything?
Yeah. Obviously, when there's a new person in charge, there's might be some different philosophies coming down from that. But whatever puts the Red Sox in the best position to have success, I think is the most important. So whoever that guy is, we'll ride behind him.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Ed. But Corey, we appreciate you coming on, and I'm going to follow up, Ed. Congratulations on the NRI, and we will be seeing you obviously in spring training. So, but thank you so much for hopping on. We appreciate it. I know it's been a short off season for you, and we're glad that you took some time to hop on. So, like I said, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate both you guys.